So back in late 2023, as we all know, the RTX 4090 was on the rise in terms of popularity, and I saw this and thought, well, maybe, the holiday season's right around the corner, and plus, maybe a content gift from me to you. Maybe I can get my hands on one of these 40 series cards. And so I go into Amazon, Newegg, all these different sites, and I realize that I'm considerably broke, and so I make the decision of going onto the used market of OfferUp, which you all know is not too uncommon here on the channel, and I've done well in past times, but this time it was a decision that put me multiple hundreds of dollars in the hole. So one day I'm scrolling on OfferUp, right, looking for this 40 series card or some other card that I could showcase on the channel, really, and that's when I come across this man named George. Now his profile was fairly reputable. He had a few sales, and he had a bunch of followings, and so I checked out his products. He was selling a 4090 for over $1,000, but I thought I'd lowball him for. Well, because why not, right? And so I gave him about a $500 price, and it's unreasonable for the product, but figure maybe it will negotiate up from there. And that was when I got a message back saying, sure, let's do it. Now, obviously being confused, I accepted the deal. I don't have chat logs of this because OfferUp deleted it because, well, his account was, it was erased after this whole thing went down. But George ended up saying that the reason for him selling it at such a low price was because he was in a family situation and he really needed the money and he was selling a bunch of his products. And so I figured, sure, right? It makes sense. And the guy was typing as if he was a regular American human being, right? No one from another country, doesn't know the language well, trying to just scam me, right? And so I'm chatting with him for a while, right? And this is when it gets a little weird. I immediately try to buy it from him through OfferUp secure shipping, and that's when he's saying he has problems with OfferUp. And now every single problem he was telling me, I experienced the same thing with OfferUp as a seller myself. I sold multiple things, and everything he was explaining to me in perfect detail was in line with my experience. And so I explained to him how I would set up depositing this and that, and so that he could sell. Although I did not have to set up a depositing account to sell in the first place, I understand that there are issues with that. And like I said, I was experiencing the same thing. And so I walked him through exactly what I did. He said he would rather not take the chance at setting up without a deposit account. And so he asked if we can do it over Zelle, and he would show me receipts and everything I needed along the way. In which he kept his word, and he did exactly that. He, just a few minutes later, set out to the nearest FedEx, because as you may know, I am many, many miles from the state of Florida, and he showed me a receipt, an exact receipt of an exact address of a FedEx, one in Pembroke Pines, Florida, that looked completely legitimate, and it said the product was verified, the product was of RTX 4090, this is the whole thing on the front of the box. It verified the exact weight. I searched up online with the card weight, and it was on point. Everything checked out, and so we came up with a deal that I would send him half, and the other half, plus shipping, half plus shipping, $280, and I would get the other, and he would get the other half when I received the product at my house. And so he sent it and showed them the receipt. And so I worked with Zelle for a while to send out this $280 to this person on Zelle.
Please remain on the line for the next available customer service specialist. We appreciate your business.
Now, this process with Zelle took a while because of all the authorization I had to provide, especially given it's my first time using Zelle. I usually use Venmo and things like that, if anything. Otherwise, cold hard cash, right? And this is when things started to take a turn for the worse, because I had to provide so much identification, so many sorts of authorization for this sending of money, that it was almost like if I did it, there was no going back. But the reseller looked genuine and respectable, so I continued on with it for however long it ended up being. At this point, we were talking over text, so I do have logs of this. This man was sending me pictures of everything from the receipt to what the store looked like. I searched it up online, Google Lens, Bixby. I searched every AI searching tool for images on the internet to make sure that everything looked legitimate and this was not just a stock photo of some FedEx. And it all checked out. He took a picture in the box, nothing really much around it, just the box. You could see all the pictures on screen, and it look completely legitimate. I'm not sure about this packaging one here. I haven't shipped out of FedEx myself recently, so I don't know exactly what they would look like, but I mean, it looks like something you'd ship. Not so much for a $2,000 product, but it checked out. And now this is the part where we really have to pay attention. This right here blurred out my address. This is the receipt he sent me. Now you could take a close look at it, you can zoom in through YouTube, but this looks exactly like a FedEx receipt. Everything, every part of this checks out. I examined it for a while, except one thing is off. Somehow he changed the receipt ever so slightly so that I couldn't make out the rest of the shipping number. This being said, I could not track the shipment before I sent the money. And so, being a bit skeptical at this point, I still decided to go through with it, given everything else. So, all that time, everything with Zelle, I ended up going through with $280. Sent him the confirmation, and throughout the time, he was saying just to send him screenshots because he was in the car driving. I don't know whether this is the truth or not, but this is what he said. This is about when we come to the end of our conversation together. The last thing he said was, "Hey buddy, I'm just seeing your messages now. I've been busy at work. Can you please check if the payment is still pending?" And I said, "No worries, Zelle says it was delivered. If it's not a problem, could you just take another picture of the receipt with the tracking number more clearly displayed? I couldn't make it out with the other one you sent." But by that time, it was too late. Now, over the next few days after that, I decided to keep following up, and I checked in the mail, and that was when I decided to keep following up more and more and more, and that was when I realized that I had a problem. And this is when it got scary, so I decided to dive a little deeper on this guy, and I checked with Zelle. I called them, they couldn't do anything about the $280, and I was honestly, to hell with $280. I'm not gonna, it's not gonna kill my bank account for it's nothing. But the bigger thing was, I didn't want this guy doing anything to anyone else, and I also wanted to figure out what was really going on. And so I decided to do a little more research, and I took his phone number, which seemed like an actual phone number, and I did some research on his phone number first with his 985 area code, which comes out to Louisiana, which is not Florida, but not suspicious, right? I know a bunch of people with out-of-state phone numbers. But that was when I did a phone number lookup on binverified.com, and this is when I made one of the biggest discoveries yet. I scrolled into the comments, and this is what I found, things that really, really made the whole experience surreal. An anonymous said, "Selling Sonos sub and offer up under name Steven." Now, Steven was not George. Someone else said, "Keith on OfferUp tried scamming my 15-year-old son for $200. Again, Keith is not George, and nor is Keith Steven, and Steven's not George as well. These all don't line up. But the last one was what really, really got me questioning the whole thing. This last comment says, and I quote, "Scammer on OfferUp tried using Venmo to get payments for items and then sending fake FedEx reports, reported on August 5th of 2023. Now, this comment was the first comment on this Been Verified page, and the one I left was the last one. I left an anonymous one, and so this is when it struck me that I had been scammed. And so I did a little more digging because I couldn't just leave it here, right? I sent in a report to IC3.gov, which is basically an internet crime claim center where they will flag a number, they'll flag a Zelle account, and so whenever someone tries to send this man his money through Zelle, they will see that there is a flag for them, that there's a flag for this user, and they could potentially be a scammer. So maybe they'll think twice about sending the money. But either way, that's just one thing I took. I could do a lot more damage, but first I wanted to see really what was going on. And so I looked at that account that sold me, George, and that account was gone by the time I looked at OfferUp. Just a few days later, that account was off the surface of everything. There was nothing I could find. I even checked the people who he was following. Not a single person had his account in their following section. And so, remembering the pictures and also having a bunch of screenshots myself, I decided to look on OfferUp nationwide for this RTX 4090. And that was when I found the exact pictures of the exact card, of the exact box, everything checked out in San Francisco. And ladies and gentlemen, I checked the same thing not too long later, and I found that this man was out of San Francisco and in Los Angeles. The same listing, just under a different name, different account, and different location. So now this begs the question, what happens next? And so I have a few options here, and this was a few months ago, so they would be irrelevant by now. Not entirely, but slightly. Either way, I have a few options here. Option A, I don't do anything about it. And that's kind of what I'm doing so far. This happened in late December, and now it's almost March, and honestly, I don't care anymore. It's not like I can do anything about it, and it's $280, and so what, right? This guy, I don't know if he's doing anything. I haven't gotten any more reports on, been verified since then, so maybe he stopped. Maybe it was the last one. So, cut him some slack. It was annoying, but something you had to let go. Or option B. You see, option B is something that I had an idea about from back in my days of doing a bit of things that could be considered questionable on the internet. So if you guys don't know what Grabify is a website where you can get a fake link, essentially, and when you send it to somebody and they click on it, it will go to nothing. You could say, oh, check out this new YouTube video, and it will have what seemingly looks like a regular YouTube link, but is just nothing, except that's not exactly what it is. This is something very big. And so when you click on this Grabify link, I will get your private IP in which I can do many, many things with. And so the idea I had, I could send them a text like the one you see on screen right now. And so it seems like a regular OfferUp text. In fact, this is an exact one. I got it right off of my phone because, well, I've had to reset my password before. And so what I did was I took that, I replaced the link in it with a Grabify link, and I put in a phone number for them to call. Now you might be asking, well, what if they call that phone number? What does it call me? Who does it call? Well, that calls a local men's strip club. That ought to be fun, right? Now what would I do with this information anyway, right? It's just me. All I have is his address, his private IP, and some jokes, right? Well, that's the thing about scamming, right? Because now I have his information. I can either pay him a visit over 2,000 miles away, or I could dox him. The opportunity that is in this situation is endless. I mean, really, if I was looking for revenge, option B would be the obvious. Or I can pay a guy on the dark web to physically... I'm going to get into that later. But that's option B. Are there any others? Okay, option C. We take a little middle ground here, right? We go to Zelle. We already set him up with a little flag, right? We do a little more. Maybe go deeper into his phone. We put a little more flags in there, right? I'll call up different people, different companies to put his accounts on the watch, right? Just for other people's sake, right? Not really doing him much damage personally, but these other people that he might scam, his other potential victims, will have a second thought in their mind that this guy might be onto something. Now what did I end up doing? I went option A. Really, it doesn't bother me much. It just kind of stinks for a little while, and honestly, it's a good story to tell your kids, At least for me, it's a good learning experience. No matter how genuine someone looks, you always got to use your logic and do your research, do your homework, And that's really it. However, if I do see another comment on this been verified page, and it is another young kid trying to get a speaker or a laptop or whatever it is, and they get scammed out of a few $100, I might not let that slide. But I'll keep you updated, and I appreciate you watching the video. Drop a subscription if you did enjoy. And let's get back to tech soon. I'll catch you later.